Okay, good night, good night, good night, good night, and welcome to the Fatherhood Think Tank. The 90 minutes of intellectual conversation by fathers, for fathers, about fathers. And really more like a conversation to examine and look at how we live in a world that may acknowledge or may not acknowledge fatherhood. And we are here, the think tank, to bring those thought to position, and maybe even along the way educate some people as well as enlighten them on how fathers may or feel about certain things. Dr. Ron, the Fatherhood Think Tank curator, therapist, mentor, educator. Um, Good night, gentlemen. Okay.
Hey, good morning. I mean, good night, Ron. We heard you. You
Oh,
just chiming in a little slow, but how was your trip? How was your homecoming?
homecoming. That did I tell you I was going to homecoming?
You didn't have to tell me. I would have already known.
Yeah, I mean, listen, homecoming is one of those things projects that I work on. I don't go there like most people go there. They go to have a good, not that I don't have a good time, but they go there to party and do all this. It's like a project, a major project, making sure all the events happen, making sure people know where they're going to be, celebrating. And it was my 30th year anniversary for my line, so that was a big accomplishment, a big accomplishment for us. So it was all time to just get together, fellowship, around a great win against Prairie View. Prairie View. So to me, it was a great time. Was tired, but you know how those labors of love go. Labors of love, it don't matter.
Yeah, I had some other folk that went up there. I think that went up there that went to school at FAMU. I mean, not FAMU, but Bethune Cookman as well. Um, Even some family members, but the one particular young lady I worked with, she went up there. She went with, see, I know Ron. I'm like, oh, really? And so, you might know Caballo.
What did you say? Kabaddi.
Caballo.
Oh, listen. Let
She
me say.
said she know you, but you was a drum. Well, I thought about you a drum major, so I just thought about it. Yeah, you was a popular soul, so
Yeah.
scratch that notion.
But the funny part is I wasn't that kind of guy. I was just a regular guy doing regular things a lot of times. So you know how that goes. Just that regular guy doing regular things.
Well, sometimes it's the position that makes you irregular. You understand? And so
Exactly.
it's really never. You're right. Most um, Irregular guys are just it's just really it's just the position their position in life. That's it.
Right.
Snatch away the title or whatever position and status, then guess what? You're right. You're a regular guy.
So as I'm saying that, before I introduce you guys, let me just really quick acknowledge our sponsors for tonight. First sponsor is Edekai, chapter of Omega Psi Phi, Fort Lauderdale chapter. It's that chartered in 1954. They have been really, when I look at it, they are the longest supporters of the Fatherhood Think Tank and advocates for it. Um, and when I say that, in the beginning times, if we needed, when we were rolling and trying to establish, they did what they had to do, not just as a chapter, but also financially to assist if we needed those things. So I definitely always want to keep them in our minds. And then also the we guy we're gonna send an APB out on, Jag Attorney at Law, Miami-Dade, Broward, West Palm Beach, our good friend and fellow Fatherhood Think Tank father, Johnny A. Gaspar Esquire. You can, people can reach him at J. Gaspar Jag1law.com. Phone number 305-827-8087. And if you just need to look up his website, it's www.jag1law.com. That's attorney Johnny A. Gaspar, loyal supporter of the Fatherhood Think Tank. And with that being said, tonight's topic is the right or wrong way to raise children. And I'm sure we're going to have an interesting conversation about that because we have some of the two more dynamic fathers I know out here in the world. So I'm definitely going to be able to speak to that platform. I'm pretty sure some more people will come on. As I say out there in YouTube land, Facebook land, you too can be a part. You can ask questions. You can be in the conversation. If you really want, you can put questions and we'll look at them. You can even have pushback on something that somebody said. It's not what we're saying here is not, even though it's our perception and how we see it, we're not so, as I would like to say, arrogant as people would probably feel, are so stubborn that we can't look at another situation or another comment or another thought of mine and see how that fits into our frame or our perception of a topic or a subject. And I think that's the one kind of thing I think we need today is that just because we don't agree doesn't mean the other person is wrong, right? We just there's different ways, the old thing, different strokes for different folks, and we definitely can always look into establishing that. So let these fathers introduce themselves who will join us tonight for the topic, the right or wrong way to raise children. Gentlemen, take it away.
Um, I'll go ahead. My mic is unmuted. My name is Ed Tenney. I am in transition to be a single dad. I am a father of 3 adult children, ranging between the ages of 30 and 37. I have one grandbaby and one grandbaby on the way due in December, Christmas present.
Mm.
That is awesome. Congratulations, Teeny. And it's always a blessing to just see you guys. And what I want to let me I'm sorry. Oh, my name is good evening, gentlemen. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm a father to a tribe of 7 young adults, 3 young women, 4 young men, 1 granddaughter, and 1 grandson, and it's always a pleasure to be here.
Greetings and grand night to you, brothers. This is Ennis Pete. It's been a while since I've been on, been working a lot. Uh, I am the father of three daughters, a 31-year-old, 19-year-old, and a 17-year-old. And let me tell you, it ain't easy being a papa, but it is what we do.
Yeah.
And glad to meet you, gentlemen, tonight.
And I just want to, I got some news of a father who has passed, a pretty good friend of mine, a good brother, um, you know, up in Jacksonville, um, Mitchell Kevin Woodall Sr. Um, because he's a father, and there's going to be some time that some children, it's just as us, is going to have to deal with, having that father who was there, not there anymore. So definitely want to be able to send. I wanted to send and maybe even dedicate the show to him tonight. Um, um, Brother Mitchell Kevin Woodall Sr., who passed away. Um, and so I just put that in there. But I think that one of the big parts of um, tonight's show is looking at this idea: is there a right or wrong way to raise children? And I think that um, this you probably don't say, hey, we come up with these topics. Some of these topics come directly from cases, right? Some cases, and when I say cases, therapy sessions that I have observed, not my own personal, but I have observed them in research and some of the stuff I did, and I'm thinking about a case recently that I looking at about, and it lended to this conversation that they were speaking to the therapist, and it was kind of sort of about. There's no confidentiality in this this being told because it's seen publicly. It's a public. You can go in. I'm not going to tell you where, but you can go and find it yourself and see this exact same thing I'm going to describe to you on YouTube or on Facebook. Even. The husband and wife is there, and they're having a discussion, and the husband is very distraught because the wife had made a statement about one of the reasons why she didn't want to have a child with him. So, and it might have
Say
been
what?
based on some of the things that was going on with them and what happened, but it really was based on the idea that he had already had a child, and when this came to the point of them having their child together, it almost it seemed like he was like knowing everything or knowing more than her or using, and I've seen this before, using the idea that because I already have a child, I know more than you about parenting. So my way is right, your way could be wrong. And I know that sometimes that works opposite ways for both mothers and fathers. We can see it in many ways, but that is the core of where we're coming from. This conversation, where it started from. But as I know, the think thing gonna take it all the way around the world and wash it 3 times. We're not gonna just stay in that one space. So I throw out there your first thoughts and feelings about the idea of right way or wrong way to raise children. Do you even? I mean, I think really, do you even believe that that is a valid, feasible statement in today's time? I think that we think in the past we had some opinions about what was right or wrong, but today is such a less conservative community and world we live in. A lot more freedoms and independence that I think and ideas that weren't of the past. So I throw that out to you, gentlemen. Any thoughts about that?
Well, I mean, just on the so I'm gonna talk about the root of it. If we're gonna deal with the root of it, if there's gonna be a right way and a wrong way to raise children, I would just assume the right way is to raise them, and the wrong way is not to raise them at all. And so it makes the difference between being an absent parent and a present parent. And so we got to figure out when it comes to the right and wrong ways, what are the basics, right? And so the basic right way is to first be there. That's the first one, because when you talk about raising, it's by the equivalent or synonym of growing. And so in order to raise anybody or anything, you'd have to actually be growing yourself. And so raising and growing is synonymous, and we got to not limit raising or growing to just the child. It has to be a reciprocal thing between the parents and the child. And guess what? The mother as well as the father, which is what you had just eloquently explained when you gave me that story earlier about that couple. And so raising and growing again is the same thing. And so we cannot limit um, the word raising or growing to just one party, or the other party will tend to think they're more superiority or more superior to the other party and makes them feel a little inferior. And I think we do that across the board, be it fathers do it to mothers, mothers do it to fathers, or parents do it to children. And so figuring out which is the right and wrong way to do things is the first um, use that measuring stick on self before you apply those rules to somebody else. I'm gonna leave it right there for now.
Right. Well, for me, what I have to say about it, everything you said, brother, is correct. Everything you said. Um, a lot of us who are born 54, 64 years ago, we were brought up where we were taught that these certain things need to come first. One, in a lot of families aren't families today, so that concept of family isn't there. Secondly, when you were being raised at your childhood, how were you raised? Were you raised by a single parent? Were you raised by both of your guardians? What other things did you see, hear, and become a part of in your childhood? And when you become that adult, a lot of us have this misconception of what it is to raise a child or children between two parents. If both guardians are still there, the teaching and the learning techniques are totally different. I give you a perfect example. Me, I'm a 72 baby. I was born to clean my room up, wash my dishes, clean up the yard on the weekends before I can watch cartoons. And uh, I was taught how to be polite, giving, caring, and sharing. In today's time, everybody has their own personal beliefs and what they do. And even when you're in your own household with your family, there is this alienated wall inside the home. Why? Because the guardians have a hard time raising their children correctly when it comes to their thought process on how it's done. You might have one parent who is like me. I was brought up to go get it done. Clean your room, or this can't be done. Make sure your grades are good. When I get home, make sure these dishes are washed. Make sure that garbage is taken out. Today's children don't have enough responsibilities, and they don't have the family values that most of us grew up with. Even if you in a single parent home, it is very difficult for parents to co-parent, and they were both raised in two different types of homes. It's very difficult, and it will always clash. I see it all the time, talking from personal experience. So, with that being said, brothers, um, it's going to continue to be difficult. Children nowadays, they are not willing to listen to common sense, listen to that learning curve that A lot of us got when we was coming up. You know, I I owe everything to that lone green switch that was placed on my backside during those times by one of the most loving women in the church that I ever met. And I never forget this lady because she taught me what it means to be kind, to be loving, generous, and be patient. Uh, if a child doesn't, if a child isn't don't have these things installed within them, then you're going to get what we see a lot of on today. I don't know if you guys watch certain videos like I like to watch, but I watch these videos and I see these young boys and girls. The communication skills are down. They don't know what it means to have that sisterly love or brotherly love. Everything is contingent on you doing something. Um, um, when a parent is trying to give their child tutelage on something that is very prudent for them in life, social media has taken that away from us. We can't parent our children. That's out of our hands. Ever since social media has blown up, it is literally out of our hands. And I see videos where parents grab the devices and they break them up. Even if they spent three, four, $500 on an iPhone, I see parents taking these devices because they can't talk to their children. And children are, and just like any young thing, I don't care if you're an animal or a person, any young thing, it goes off of what it sees, what it hears, and what is told. And these children are just like any other children growing up any other era. You grow up in a bad time, they're gonna end up running like that. You grow them up in a medium, a good time in life, they're gonna have the good and the bad, and it's on them. And you might have that child that has everything, that silver spoon. I know a lot of guys who got the silver spoon, but they want to be bad. They want to be unethical. So when it when it comes to parenting, first off, before anybody has children, they need to know who they are first and find out what they need to work on before they bring a life into this world. And that's my stand on that.
Mm.
But that lends to what you were saying earlier, Brother Lightborn, that, when you're raising them, it's a reciprocal type of scenario that you have to be there and be willing to grow along with the kids. And um, I would say, in addition to that, um, I, I guess I'm kind of finding out that you don't truly know whether you raised your kids right until you get to see them doing their thing. Um, and if they're doing their thing in a manner in which, if they're raising their kids or conducting themselves where they are, contributors to society in a most positive way, then I think you could pretty much say that, yeah, you raised your kids right if they are not, soaking up from society, but giving of themselves and contributing to the general role and responsibility of community. Um, I look at my kids now, and I'm thinking, uh, man, those kids learned something from somewhere. If it wasn't from me, they learned it from somebody else to be respectful and contributors to society in a positive way. I think a lot of times we don't find out until we get much older how well we did.
Mm.
Well, in a lot of instances, brother, you can see it as it's progressing. Just like that child prodigy who can, if you're a parent who loves music, you might have that child that loves to play piano. 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. They're learning how to hit those keys. So, as you're giving your child instructions on how to be in life, and yeah, you're right. Especially once they get older, yeah, you're definitely going to see um, your work or the fruits of your labor in that child. And as they grow into the lessons that you're teaching them, you're going to see the progress. And that's just going to, because as a pop, when my children are doing something that I give them some knowledge on, it gives me the greatest satisfaction and joy to see them comprehend, not understand, but comprehend what I'm giving them. That's what any parent wants for their child to do, is comprehend. Because if you can't comprehend, then I don't care how many times you put the bow and arrow in your hand and shoot it. If you're not holding it correctly, if you haven't built up the strength to pull that bow back and have the strength, then you're not ready. And if we are teaching our children family value, first and foremost, family values, and that's what's missing. We don't have family values. Like they say, what is your family mantra? What is your family motto? A lot of people don't even know what that is. They look at me and say, "What does that mean?" I say, "Y'all don't have a motto. Y'all don't have a certain thing that y'all say in y'all house to get y'all pumped up and y'all live by." No, man, I never heard of that. So, so, just growing up children in this society, it is it's so bad. I was a former school crossing guard. I seen children in different areas of how they doing things. I even tried to be a mentor myself to certain young children. And when children are shown the wrong things from early, the human brain is an amazing thing. It absorbs everything. And as that child grows, if you aren't able to stop certain behavior and change that thought process, I'm telling you guys from experience, it will torment you and it will torment the family. So guys and gals have to be more willing to sit down and talk with themselves first. Learn you first. Learn what makes you tick. Learn what makes you more of a human being, and having the energy to slow down and teach your children correctly. Your job should not come before your child. Your friends should not come before your children. Nothing should become before your child comprehending what life is and what they need to do to
Mm.
enjoy it, be safe, and move through it.
Yeah, I was thinking about this right and wrong thing, and I'm just gonna throw a little caveat in there. So, is there a right way or a wrong way to um, raise your children? Um, for me, it can be said because I'm just gonna play around with this for a little bit. So let's just say what I say. Um, was it right for me to try to raise my children broke? No, just being real. And so, because you got to be careful with this, because it's a very tricky scale. We're saying it's right. So if a man say, you know what, I don't want to see my children until I get some money. You know what I'm saying? Would that be the right? You know what I'm saying? It's a slippery slope because I'm like, you have a point.
That sound crazy.
I said,
I don't know who ever said something
but
like that. I wouldn't say
let
that.
me finish it up. But what I'm doing is
Mm.
because I'm playing right now the devil's advocate. And so when you're talking about right and wrong, because there's no right and wrong that's really set in stone, and as God set it in stone Himself. But if I said that, oh, you know what, the reason I don't come around my children because I don't have enough money to support them. You understand? Okay, would that be wrong for to be around my children broke or trying to be a
Yeah,
father or better yet, yeah, be a father or a broke father to my children. You
Yes.
understand? And guess what? Some people might be like, yeah, and some people might be like, no. But what I am saying is this: I think when you take right and wrong out of the equation, I think showing up as is, you understand, will get you to right and wrong outcomes. And sometimes a man may not feel like he have most men, most people, but most men in general don't feel like they're good enough to be anything, even if they have enough to be it. Because we can never feel like we have enough to be all that we can be to the people that we can be it to. And so I don't sit here and play coy to the fact that the first thing that we deal with when it comes to right and wrong is feeling like that we're enough or we're even good enough for our children. But I tell any man today, I'm like, whatever you have to show up with, show up, because the right thing sometimes start with just simply showing up. And so when I say that, I had to throw that out there just as a category or just playing a mind game with you, because sometimes we can get caught up in the right and wrong of, you know what, if I don't have X, Y, Z, you understand, then I don't have a right to be a father. And society within there puts that stereotype on us as well, which is maybe some of the reasons, not all of the reasons, but some of the reasons for absentee
Facts.
father. And
Facts.
so
Facts.
that's why the right and wrong thing is a slippery slope, because if I say, okay, if I put all the right things on the advantages I have, right, and put all the wrong things on the disadvantages you have, you understand, do I get to do that? Is that really right and wrong, or is the true right and wrong the advantages versus the disadvantages that we historically have? And so you got to be careful about the people who making the rule, even though they're making the rule from the history they ruled from. You understand? And so what we'll try to do is try to be accountable to something we never had in the first place. You can't compare white fatherhood to black fatherhood, because the fatherhood historically are historically different. You understand? So you can't say X, Y, Z that classify you as a good father or a great father, and not willing to acknowledge the fact that our history or your history deprived of that of the ABC. You understand? And equipped you with the XYZ. And so you comparing your XYZ to my ABCs I don't have. You understand? So it's so many different ways to really discuss things. I mean, rather to discuss this topic. But I think we have to see it from not only advantages and disadvantages, but the fact that how can you be a father from where you're at? And that's where the real right and wrong starts. If you can father from where you're at, if you know how to father or even want to father from zero, now you're on your way. You understand, to being a right and wrong, a right or wrong father. And guess what? A father who's willing to accept his wrongs and still try to do the right thing with it. I mean, again, man, I can flip this thing so many different ways, but I'm gonna go ahead and let somebody else start.
You know, like boy, you brought. Listen, I seen where you was going with that, and it made me immediately think about, when I think about this idea, and people will use that, like that seems like an excuse to me, that you waiting to get your stuff together to get involved with these kids. The mom can't even wait to get herself together to get it. She got to do it when she has to do it. But I think that comes back to when we talk about is it a right or wrong way, then is it a right or wrong way to have a child, right? So so if you know you ain't got what you need to be given to a child, that means that now you got to put some restraint, some control on yourself, not to just haphazardly end up impregnating a woman or women. That sometimes that can happen. Now, I'm not also not gonna say it's just exclusively guys. Some guys don't plan to be doing any of that. Sometimes they just plan on just, trying to, thinking that they're involved in a relationship with somebody who wants the same thing they want. And then the person does want the same thing want, they just end up wanting a little bit more. And so you just didn't know they want just a little bit more. But that theory of a father saying, "Hey, I can't even come to these kids because I don't have anything to offer them." And some people could say, that sounds ridiculous, and I think Ennis was going to point to that. But and I thought about it. What about a dad who know he ain't got nothing to offer, and then he offers that child that life of nothing, right? And that ultimately comes a life of, oh, I got to do something to get something, and that child grows up seeing nothing, right? And we'll say that, oh no, that at least he was there, at least the dad was there, and I will argue and be very clear that not just dads, but some parents just don't need to be there because they're not providing what an adult to a minor to an infant should provide. So sometimes that's why we have a whole DCF community that gets kids, and those kids go and be in foster care or they be adopted, and then they have these lives that sometimes are, I won't say just because they went in foster care that it makes their life better. I'll say sometimes, because sometimes they go into the system and their life can get 10 times worse than their life was initially. And that is another traumatic experience that we have to understand. Our children of yours can face. Listen, even you could be there, and your child could face that kind of traumatic experiences and those things. So this idea, and the topic seems like now we're gonna say look like we not being we're being indecisive. We can't come up with a yes or no, good or bad, right or wrong. And I think that this is an important part of what I'm advocating is the war that we got going on in our community. This show is hopefully can answer that. There is not a definite answer to anything. Every relationship is different. Every dad is different. Every connection of how their children are established. There's not some guru who sits somewhere and say this is the right way, this is the wrong way, because it can't be the right way or the wrong way because you can't be every person. Because we know and I say that to say when I say guru, that doesn't mean that I also bring into this aspect because then someone will say, well, what about God, right? But God also gives you the opportunity to do and that free will to do what you think is best, right? And in that part, you follow whatever practice, teaching, and knowledge you have to say because that dude who sold dope, the baby formula was right here. The baking soda was right there. The pot, he was boiling the pot for the bottle and the pot for the crack simultaneously because the baby needed a bottle. Somebody can say that's a horrible way. That's not the right way that you should have your child. That is again that becomes a perception of yourself or how you think and what you feel. It can go many different ways. So I'm glad that we can look at that a little bit more objectively than being so subjective. A lot of times in a conversation like this, it becomes subjective. Like, to be a good dad, you need to be this, you need to be that, you need to be bop, bop, bop. And you forget about some things that we got a whole bunch of people doing all that, and they horrible dads. So how you come up with that synopsis? How do you come up with that conclusion? Each situation needs to be evaluated and look at what is in the best. You hear judges say this all the time. What is in the best interest of the child? Sometimes the best interest is, and you'll hear dad say who might be convicted of a crime and know this, tell you don't bring my child down here ever to see me. I don't never want the child to see me. I don't want to see them ever. I don't want them to even know that I exist because some of that turns into what they think is best for the child. And sometimes that might seem best, but it might not be best for the child. The child might need to know that they got the father and learn from the mistakes of the father. We know the stories. They don't learn from the mistake of the father, then them and the father end up in the same cell later on, talking to each other.
You got Vaughn just kicked in. Good evening, Vaughn. Go ahead and introduce yourself and jump on in. Well, don't worry about it. He'll kick back in eventually.
Yeah,
But no, you. I mean, Ron, you're completely right. And again, this topic of a right way to raise your child and the wrong way to raise your child, I think we got to not exclude the buy-in of that child either, because I know children who had fathers who were drug addicts or convicts, and just a simple. And remember one time I told you I said the same. I think I used this for the child because I only used it from my perspective at that particular time. But I said what made me be a father is the power of want, and I wanted to be a father so bad to my child that I went in as is, right? And so now if I had to turn that want around and see it from the perspective of a child, I think children who have any type of knowledge of their father or who even honor their father as is. I'm talking about you're talking about a child who may be honoring a father who was a drug addict, a crackhead.
right.
You may talk about children honoring a father who was a convict and turned. I mean, and because of the father they wanted, right? They honored this father who was a crackhead and a convict, like a father that they wanted. That want transformed those children that could have been in crises or ordinarily would have been a statistic into successes.
Mhm.
And so that power of want is, and we can't let um, children fall by the wayside and not let them know that they do have those powers. And that power of want is one of their greatest powers. Because man, you don't know the power of a child want until a child wants something. You understand? And some of that, I think more times we see the external wants of our children as opposed to the internal ones. It's where their integrity really lies. And so I think oftentimes they want the internal wants are more so in secrets because we never get to really dig down and mine for those diamonds that's in our children. So we never really get to see those type of wants. But we're here to wants about we want your shoes, I want this, I want that. But the wants, what do you want? If you had a want for your father, what would he look like? Or if you had a want for your mother, what would she look like? If you had a want for your parent, what would they look like? If you had a want for your community, what would that look like? I think we rarely get to the intimacy of the wants of our children. And that's cross culture. I don't think it's just a black thing or a white thing or an American thing. I think it's just an adult thing that we want to please our children more than we want to prepare them.
Yes.
And because of that, we tend to cater to what pleases them and not really to what prepares them. And when we do prepare them or cater to what prepare them, we're doing more threatening than teaching.
You you know you know something.
Mhm.
You say that like boy, and I think that you can see this very clearly sometimes in the difficulties that couples have with parenting, right? There is this idea, and this is a known fact. You know, I can tell you that mothers and fathers have different ways to empower their children. Mothers will empower their children in the strength of that everyone in the world should care about them, right? That like the mother does, right? The world, they advocate for their kid first. Everything is about the child and their child. And sometimes what we can see is it's okay for mothers to have that, right? When they have the balance of a father, a lot of time, and his idea is this world don't care nothing about you. You got to do what you got to do, right? Nobody gonna give you anything. Nobody gonna provide. That's across the board, boys and girls. They will don't get out. Listen, don't expect no man to take care of you. Don't do this. If he is gonna take care of you, he'll show himself. If he ain't, don't stay around waiting for him to get better, because he might not get better. If he a man of decency, he'll say, "Hey, listen, I can't be with you because I ain't got nothing to offer you. Now I do got something to offer you, but it ain't gonna be worth nothing but bringing the baby into this world that I ain't got nothing to provide for that baby either, right? So that kind of idea comes into play. Though all those things that we can begin to look at is going to the core. And I hate to always turn into this core master about this, but what is the correct way to have children? I think more of the idea of the right or wrong of raising children. I think we should spend a lot more time on the right and wrong of conceiving children. And why should we conceive children? And what are we conceiving children? Because people are being caught in conceptuation of children that not ready, don't want to, don't have a choice, all of those things, and that leads to them not being very good when the child arrives. So that's something for us as a society to start thinking about, a society to really process. Like, should we do some more pregnancy prevention, not for just teens, right? Not for just teens, but for the whole society, adults included, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, and maybe just some few men, 60-year-olds. Because I think the oldest man I heard was 72. Think, and so.
Al Pacino.
Yeah, right, exactly. Okay, thank you. I mean, and people might believe, oh, that's not true. There's no way that I can't. But yes, 72, still having a child. And you're gonna only imagine how does that work out? How does a 72-year-old man, the woman that he gets probably 30 years old or whatever, what way does he have to be? And which way is he going to be different from the kids that he already had? Because he already got some kids. Well, kids, he got grandkids that, grandkids, he might even great grandkids going to be the age of his kid type thing. And how does he manage and process and deal and work with that? I say all the time, that is something that we need to look at as a society. And sometimes we won't look at it because of the bias that we have for men's patriarchal privilege. We won't say, yo, you 65, bro, go get the snip, man. You don't need to be impregnating any more women. You got 6 kids already? Yo, you don't need no more kids, brother. You need to focus on the ones that you already got. So, those are some of the things that really put into play. So
I think you raise some very interesting points. I think that begs the question, though, is it's never the child's fault on how they get here, right? So the question would be is when they get here, when you look at the circumstances of where they're at when they get here, what is the right way or wrong way to parent? I would imagine a single dad who's left with the sole responsibility may have to parent a little differently. Of course, we already know that single moms need to parent a little differently. How is Al Pacino going to parent as a 72-year-old to his kid, who's just born, and he may have grandkids older than his kid? So that begs the question is, maybe there is no solid right or wrong way. It just may depend on the circumstances with how that kid is brought into this world, and how are you going to conduct yourself as a parent, your circumstance, to make sure that child is brought up to be the best person they can be. So there's a lot of variables, I guess, we'd have to consider, given that the family dynamic is been so. I'll just say it's evolved from what we have known as the traditional nuclear family. You got families that are composed from very different circumstances and scenarios.
You 100% right about that, and teeny, but I'm going to push the envelope a little further. When we're talking about an Al Pacino, and not just an Al Pacino, I mean Joe Jackson did it. I'm pretty sure he was about that age as well. He was in his 80s before when he had his young kid, and so I think, particularly in an Al Pacino case, imagine being born under those circumstances, being born under what could easily be conceived as a prostitutional arrangement.
Mm.
You understand? And so, and I mean, this is why the Bible and the church come in. I mean, when you really got a great teacher, I mean, that Bible, when you finish learning that Bible, you'll see no life is unscathed. The fact that Jesus' lineage and was birthed out, that he had, that it was a hooker in his lineage. You understand? And so the fact that good can be, and this is just life. Good can be birthed out of some of the worst wrongs. And I mean, good actually come out of some of the worst bad situations. As a matter of fact, Jesus himself was considered a good that was born in a bad situation. We said if we're going to talk about good and bad, I mean, the Bible actually is very clear when it says what they say about Jesus. Can anything good come out? And so when we ask this question, I mean, we can actually, I mean, Jesus is actually the poster child for this question. They're saying basically where he's from is so bad, can any good come from it? Which is why what we're talking about, because sometimes you got to use something, a bigger example, bigger than yourself, to kind of set people straight. He's deemed as perfect. You understand? But let societies tell it he came from the worst situation where there's no good could come from that situation or town he's from, or even those people that he's from. And so that's why I kind of, and I mean, you have to really grow up to grow out of the concept of what is good, bad, what is right and wrong, and somebody, you understand? I mean, none of us are really who's good enough to really judge good. I would love to meet the person. I would really love to. I'm like, who set these terms? Who set these standards? And normally, when you see people who try to set the standards, they're normally faceless, which is
right.
Back to your point, the people who actually creates the Bible for I always call it the Bible, the Bible for mental health. Those are faceless people.
Right.
They do it in secrecy. You understand? And I mean, they may have their reasons for doing it, but I'm like, if you're gonna set the standard for society, we need to actually make sure that you're the standard. You understand? But most of the time, the people, and again, I'm not totally against mental health. I think mental health has its purposes and different things, but I also realize it has its privileges. And that's one of the privileges, because you get to create a standard for society, but you get to do it in secrecy. And that is something within itself. You get to create a standard, but you do it in secrecy. And if it has to be doing secrets, I'm like, listen, anything done in secrets is already wrong within itself. You understand? The fact that you have to keep it a secret. I have never seen anything secret turn out right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's within, I mean, but again, we have to, for me, God is the standard. I'm okay with that. You understand? Because it keeps me, you understand, checking me. As long as he's the standard, I can live up to that. But I have not met a man that actually was good enough to actually be the standard or even set a standard for other men.
And Ron, let me bring up something. Since you brought up 72-year-old Al Pacino still having kids, what's interesting from a biblical perspective, when Sarah died, his wife, after he had Isaac, he went on and remarried to a lady named Keturah, had more children, and he was 100 years old at the time when he had Isaac. So even after Sarah died, he went and got busy with a whole nother family. And their lineage is actually mentioned in the Bible. It's just that they weren't children of the promise. None of those kids that he had were children of the promise. So I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't be snipping a 72-year-old, because if he can still produce, and if the kids that he bring into the world are younger than some of his grandkids.
I hear you. Listen, there's some parts of that I mean, listen, I hear it. I hear it. But also I look at it in terms of present practice, right? And I think that, yes, I think that we can follow biblical practices. I think if people use it a lot, they bring up biblical practices and say, "Oh, in the Bible, it was biblical, so this could be." But then I always have to come back and say, because if I don't, what happens is some of those things can be oppressive to people in today's time, and it would be unfair to justify some oppression based on biblical terms, right? And you see it all the time. I mean, the reality of it. So in practice, what is Al Pacino, going back to Al Pacino, what is he actually able, other than financially, and maybe at the level of what a grandfather could give to their child, what is he really able to give to the child? And I think sometimes this is when I look at it in a sense of, and again, if he could live to 100, it'd be different, right? If he could. But our lifespans are, look, at this point, the way it's looking, our lifespan is getting down. Look, we're not even gonna have a three quarters of a game soon. You won't even have, 4 quarters. You're just gonna have 3 quarters. You ain't even getting, you're gonna be one of these, next thing you're gonna have 2 quarters. You're gonna have to take it half and half. And that's very scary, I think, for a lot of people. And
I don't, Ron. I don't think when it comes to that situation, because I think we missing the root cause of the situation, which is you saying what can he give to a child? I'm like, he didn't plan on having a child.
yeah.
You understand? He had denied this stuff, and had he not been drove or dragged through court. I saw another guy on here too that looked like my family from across the waters, but I couldn't tell because he went on here long enough. But when you have a child that you didn't plan to have, when you had a child that was a result of a fling, you understand? When you had a child that you totally denied that you was even having sex with a girl that was probably your grandchildren's age, you understand? For the sake of your image, you understand what? Having a child under those circumstances, because we're saying we're trying to make him this ideal father, or better yet, the circumstances are ideal fatherhood circumstance, and it's not. What do you do when your child is the result of a fling or an indiscretion? When your child is came about by way of some controversial mistake? So we have to say it for what it is. Anytime you have, I think Trick Daddy said it best too, because I was like, man, I didn't think I would have said that, but I'm like, thank God for you to having the courage to say it. He was on the Breakfast Club, and he just was straight out. He said, listen, the reason he called himself Trick Daddy is because he was conceived by way of his mama tricking with his daddy. And that's how he got his name. He said he chose the name Trick Daddy because he said my mama tricked with my daddy for some change, and that's how I came about. And so when you have that, I'm like, these are some real situations. And so there's nothing normal about it. I think what we try to do is normalize some controversial things based on the particular status of that individual. And so we'll try to fix up Al Pacino's mess because of who he is. And then we start to rationalize the wrongs that he did. There's nothing right about how that child got here. And so there's the reason we're trying to find a right way for him to be a father is because we're trying to rationalize the wrong way his child got here.
Well, because his reasoning for having a child, right, was more than likely he had to be able to maintain this relationship. And I don't know this to be true. I don't want nobody come and tell you don't know. I'm just saying, if I was to see this as a case and I had to guess why he ended up having this child, it's some of the same reasons when I think about watching, what's the man name? I watched this documentary the other day, Billy Joel documentary, right? And how he ended up having a child because the younger woman that he was with was saying, I feel that I need to have, you already got kids with these other wives. What am I? I need to be married and I need to have kids so it can it can complete me being here and being with you. And these guys probably just say, it don't matter. Listen, I don't even think it can happen. So, okay, cool. We'll just do it. And then guess what? It happens. And I think the woman, she may be feeling validated. I have my child. I have the name. I have my direct connect. Listen, I'm gonna be a little bit of. I don't want to rub, but I'm willing to say I know numerous stories of women who have spent their best years in their life with a man towards the end of his life and left in the cold because other people who have not really contributed to him in the end are legally binded for all of the residuals, right? The ex-wife, the kids. This person basically is left almost not even the house they've been living in 10 years because that somehow is liquidated into the access of the other people because they agreed not to get married. They wasn't going to have a kid with the person. And that's not saying that people do that to do it. Sometimes they do it because they want. But some people are saying, hey, if I got a kid and I got my name as this name, I'm the last person in charge. Who in charge? I'm the last person in charge. As a matter of fact, if I work it the right way, I'll be getting nobody get anything because I would have worked my magic to. And again, these are the politics of relationship, politics of marriage, politics, and sometimes kids are brought right into those kind of things. Where this kid doesn't even have any relationship with any of the siblings, any of their other family members, because it's this grab, like Game of Thrones type of thing. He's going to be the heir to the throne. And
that's for me. I think that's hypocrisy, right? For me, why is hypocrisy?
Right.
Because I'm like, listen, you can't say that out of three of the major injustices in the world is racism, sexism, and classism. You understand? And then be a perpetuator of sexism, your own sexism.
Right.
And so when I'm like, okay, it's still sexism. Whether you now because you volunteer because you're going to get something out of it, and so now you can't be a victim of sexism and a participant at the same time. And I think we spin the narrative because who the person is, and so we're saying, I got to run and joke because I'm like, wait a minute, if you was 25 years old and you wouldn't have dated a 5-year-old. You understand? If you were 25, you wouldn't date a 5-year-old, and then now the 5-year-old is 25-year-old. I'm like, yeah, she growed up and you growed older. There's no difference in the thing. I'm like, what are you, a patient pedophile? I mean, what is that? And I like to really get to the root cause of the psychology. Because I'm like, wait a minute, if it was wrong when she was 5, it should still be wrong when she's 25. I'm trying to figure out when did, and you see how we make it right? The hypocrisy is, oh, well, she's grown now. Like, and you're old now, but you're still old enough to be her father. And so I'm like, when is it okay to date our daughters? Because contrary to the popular beliefs, generationally, she's still your daughter. And I mean, it's not gonna. I'm not gonna see it different if my daughter bring home somebody my age. It's not gonna sit well with me. You understand? Because I have a certain level of generational integrity and certain integrities that and standards that I have that I expect my children to be. Because the Bible says, raise up a child as the way you should and the way they should go in. When they get older, they will not depart from it. And so if I'm not okay with my child being a hooker when she, you understand, at one age, I shouldn't be all right with her being a hooker at another age. And I think sometimes we rationalize our children because we're like, I'm like, if your child was out there on the corner selling a body, you wouldn't be okay with that. No. I'm like, okay, why is this okay? You know very well your child who's 40, 30, 40, 50 years younger than this guy. There's no other reason her being with this guy but for the money. You understand? And so we rationalize prostitution on one front, but won't rationalize it on the street front. Long as she's not standing on a corner. I'm like, whether she's standing on a corner or not, or she's standing with a celebrity, prostitution is prostitution. And I think we rationalize, and I think it goes with the sexism down in history, because I would remember in just about every culture, you'd have parents marry their children off to guys that's old enough to be their father just for security reasons. Contrary to the population, I'm like, this is glorified prostitution. You just sold your child to a daughter, not no real organic happiness that she will have, an organic relationship that she can have. You sold her to that man out of your fears that she wouldn't be taken care of. Mm-hmm. As opposed to her growing and having a right to grow into her being organically taken care of by the man and the relationship that she grew into, as opposed to the one you sold her to. Because talk about different things like that when we talk about sexism, I'm like, it's not going to get a pass with me. I won't give a damn.
Because maybe people are trying to determine what you should have. How do you know she's not going to be protected if she gets with a guy and they live at a certain means? They don't live at a certain means, and you have made a determination that she's not being protected on what you want her to be and have. So you put her in the castle with the king because you say, oh, it's great. If she can be in the castle with the king, she's going to have a wonderful life. Instead of living down with the
common folk.
Well, I'm trying to think of who the guy, the metal man.
A blacksmith or something.
Instead of working down and living and who the blacksmith that she loves and she adores and loves how he operates and what he does, but that's a hard life. She won't be, having tea in the middle of the day. They don't have a horse, so she has to walk in the mud. She has to wash. She has to take care of her and the family. But that's her choice because that's what makes her happy. If that's what she wants. But we have tricked people into wanting something that they might not even want.
So that begs the question to your original theme. If a child is born under a particular circumstance, what is the right or wrong way to raise that child? I think it depends on the circumstance.
I would have to agree to that as well, Teeny. I couldn't even talk this no further than we go because it starts like an onion, start to unfold so many things and so many circumstances on how we got here. And I mean, again, I love it because the Bible is very transparent. I mean, you had some good men that had children in very bad situations. And so, but again, those three injustices always existed. And I think because they shape society, there may not be a right way to do a wrong thing. You understand? I think it was an old lady said that, and I love the way she said, "Ain't son, ain't no right way to do a wrong thing." And I think we're gonna always be stuck between that conundrum when it comes to, but we do have a right to evolve. So I think anytime we can choose right, and we are blessed to choose right, then just thank God for it, and just keep on continuing to just do the right thing whenever we can, even in the wrong situation.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I definitely agree. So I'll say this, and it looks like we getting close to time. I want to say that, as I always say, when we get ready to have these conversations, I listen. If you've listened, if people are listening, if you're going to listen, what you have listened to is some real thought from a group of people in a think tank. And the conversation can, it's not a what we saying is not the facts of what should be or not be. Is our perceptions and our ideas based on our experiences, based on our knowledge, based on our, one thing is based on is our own moral and ethics, character, based on what we're saying. And because one thing I can say that everyone is here is saying what they feel for them as a self. We're not being characters, right? So we're not sitting here as a character saying, okay, I'm going to be um, indifferent to this or indifferent, because this is how real things are communicated. This is how real conversations are. A lot of times people don't realize that in many things, if they listen to the other person, they may not agree with every point, but there's a very good chance that there's more common ground than what the other person is saying than it is when you initially just say, I'm not listening to anything they're saying because it's my way and they're not saying nothing like me. You can't imagine the number of arguments I have sat and watched where the people are saying the exact same thing that they want. The exact same thing is the problem. The exact same thing is the solution. But they refuse to acknowledge that they both are saying the same thing. It's like, that's not what I'm saying. Yes, it is. It's exactly what that he said this, and you said this. They are the same thing. They just said different ways. But the core of it ends to this, and that's sometimes why therapist is important. Therapist can listen to both things. Say, hey, you guys are saying the exact same thing. You are on the same point. You are arguing not the topic, but your feelings about the topic. If that can change the dynamic of the conversation you're having. If people come to a conversation, if I came to this conversation I think that last week you said this or the week before, Lightborn, is that um, underneath it all, we as the men here, we love each other, right? And no matter what, if we got heated, if we got discombobulated, if we disagree, if we agreed a whole bunch, the core of this is love, right? And because I have love for you as another father, and I have love for you as a man, it doesn't matter what we're going to disagree about because our core is love. There's not going to be any like boy, get on my damn nerve. He got to say this. I said something. He said it doesn't matter because when you really understand true love, you can take criticism. You can take correction. You can and understand that I love, and some of what he may be saying, what he is saying is in love, right? I can take it and leave it wherever I want to because that's also in love. Because he's not gonna say, well, what I said you got to do. How I say it, you got to believe it. That's where you understand and see a true love. But it does give an opportunity, and the reason why I like to advocate this idea of think tank, it gives you opportunity to hear something that you can think about later. You don't know the amount of conversations that we have here that go in other conversations out here in the world, right? And that's why I hope that the viewers are able to do the same thing. Take this conversation here and facilitate it into conversations they are having with other people, or even learning how to have conversations with other people. Because that's a whole nother story, another show. How to have conversations.
But Ron, what you're talking about is the Fatherhood Think Tank. It actually caters to the total man. And when we say the total man, it's like it's very important for me to, when I see you again, wherever in life, if I didn't see you, if I saw you 10 years from now, I need to know that you're intact. So I'm gonna, and we're talking about right and wrong things. I am not gonna look for the wrong thing. I'm gonna expect the right things from you. And so when I see Ron, I want to know Ron is still on that trajectory. You're still a father. If you're married, you're still a husband. If whatever you are, if Ron, if you're a doctor, you're still a doctor. You understand?
Right.
And so your purpose to me matters, because that's what I'm going to expect to see 10, 20 years from now. I'm going to need to know. It's very important for me that you accomplish that. And I could really say it no better than that, because the minute you put your expectations out there, I'm going to believe them.
Right.
Contrary to popular belief, just like your child believed them. And so this fatherhood and this brotherhood of fatherhood works almost just like a childhood works with fatherhood. When we truly and truly buy into each other's purpose, then that purpose that you put out there becomes an expectation for me. Because when I see you later on, I'm going to expect to see you accomplish what you accomplished. And had you not accomplished it, we're going to, whenever we meet, we're going to figure out, do you still want to accomplish it? Number one. And number two, how can we help you accomplish that? That's number two.
Right. Exactly. That goes
That's the
back
fun.
into that community.
Yeah.
The community of fatherhood that a lot of people don't understand. That they think that doesn't exist. It does, and it exists in ways that, just in the same capacity as the sisterhood of mothers, right? The motherhood circle, and as I like to say, the fatherhood circle. They operate in some of the same capacity when they are genuine and when they for the core. Because listen, first off, people couldn't. I learned a very valuable lesson that people cannot sustain certain things without genuineness, right? So you're not gonna be able to come and sit into this if you don't got genuineness, because it's gonna become difficult for you, because Lightborn might throw some lightning bolts at you. Titty might rub a little sand under your feet. And in that part, you feel comfortable. You say, this sand feels nice and warm, but the lightning bolts coming down. But I don't lightning, and you get confused. But when you're genuinely here for love, you'll say, I can take all this, hear all of it, move it, take the parts I can, take and use, and maybe even some of the parts that's not for me, take them and pass them on to somebody who can. That's the bigger part of it. What you can take is pass on to somebody that you don't need. What we don't need don't mean somebody else can. That's how this system works. If I got a deer tomorrow and I only wanted one part of the deer, I ain't gonna throw the rest of the deer away. I'm gonna call all the people in my circle and say, "Hey, I got this deer. Who wants some of it? You can get some. You can get whatever parts you want. I already took the part I want and that I needed. And if you want some of my part, depending on who you is, I might give you some of that too. I don't gotta have it all. so, so
Well,
that's
Ron, I ain't got
that's
no deal, but I do got some corned beef waiting on me. So let's wrap this thing up.
yeah. So this man say he got some corned beef waiting on him. So again, I just want to say, hey, has been a great night. Again, our sponsors, Zeta Chi, 1954, chapter of Omega Psi Phi, Fort Lauderdale, JAG, attorney at law, Miami-Dade, Howard, West Palm Beach. You can get in touch with attorney Johnny Gaspar, Esquire, at his J Gaspar at jag1law.com, or his phone number 305-827-80 87, or just go to his website, www.jagonelaw.com, for all of your legal services that he may be able to provide. And with that being said, what we've been able to provide for you in this 90 minutes of conversation, I hope, is an opportunity to move your fatherhood and your thoughts and patterns of manhood to a levels that you want to be able to move it to, and in the idea of understanding there is no right or wrong way to parent your children. You have to define that, and you have to know what best works for not just for you, but also the partner of your child, and how you guys can work that out to give that child what they need in their best interests. And I think that's where we will stay and leave it off tonight. But with that being said, Father, repeat after me. I am.
I
I
am.
am.
I say I am.
I
I
am.
I
am.
am.
I am a man of honor.
I
I
am
I
a
am.
am.
man of honor.
I am.
I
I
am.
I am.
I
I
I
am.
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 I am a man of courage.
I
I
am a
I
am
am
a
a
man
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 of
of
of courage.
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 I say I am.
I
I
am.
am.
I am.
I
I
I
am.
am.
I am a man of respect.
I
I
am a
am
I
a
man
am a
of
man
man
of
of
respect.
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 Fathers, I say that I am.
I
I
I
am.
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 I say that you are.
You
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 are.
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 I say that we are
We
We
are.
are
championship
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 brothers.
brothers.
fathers. We lift our arms like this to hold our kids wangling on our arms, and our families on our backs, and be ready to support our brothers and our families the same, and make sure our communities are striving with fatherhood. Thank you for joining us tonight. We see y'all here back next week, same time, 7 o'clock. Fatherhood Think Tank, um, with our wonderful fathers and myself. Good night, good night, good night, and good night.
Good night, gentlemen.
Peace.